to call the Central School Board meeting to order with February 24th, 2025 to look for replacements for a two-year term or two-year remaining term for school board. We were going to conduct the interviews and we will start with candidate Elroy Lontek. So please come up front.
Thank you, everybody. So my first test will be 6 o'clock.
So if you could you just set that to, you just twist it and it turns red. 1 minute, there we go.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with
I will start with the first question. Why do you want to serve on the Central Public School Board of Education?
I feel there's a need for an independent person such as Connor Smith was, that does an affiliation with the students and so forth. Also, I bring the expertise in being on the school board for 27 years and just filling a 22-month position only. I am not planning to run for re-election. I can hit the ground running. I don't have to take any type of training class or anything. And I think I bring my ability to work with the school board. And I've worked with three of you, 2 of you I have not. Troy and Spencer I have not worked with, but I know them. And so that's why I chose to be on, and I've been asked by several people to fill the term, including Mr. Smith has reached out to me and asked me to, if I could fill his term. And I'm more than willing to do that for 22 months. Thank you.
Sure said we'll probably be jotting stuff down, so apologize if we got our heads down.
No, that's fine. No, I've done interviews before, but not interviews. I've been the interviewer, so it's a little different story on this side.
All right, what are the biggest challenges facing Central Public Schools, and how would you work with the board and administration to address them?
Some of the big challenges are in seeing all the enrollments. We are down by about 100 students at the present moment, and we need to somewhat formulate a formula to bring students to Central. Why are students leaving our school district is an important question we need to ask. Is it because of the more opportunities they have, like in Waconia? Or I know we get a lot of kids from Plato, so that can't be the case normally. But are they going to Waconia because of more educational abilities or more classes being offered? And then why are they going to Cologne Academy? Let's pick on Cologne Academy. What does Cologne Academy offer that Central's not offering at the moment? So we need to look at all those things. The next thing we have to look is our budget. Is our budget coordinating with our enrollment? Are we kind of not offering as much or ability for students because our budget is pinched? When you lose 100 students, that's approximately $400,000 that you are losing. And how do we address the budget and maybe revisiting the budget sometime in March or April, which is typical, and seeing what cuts we can make that are not harmful to the educational process of the school district. So we need to look at all those things too. So it's not a one easy step fits all. And then maybe doing some more interviewing with students and seeing why the students are not going or why the parents are sending them. And I'm going to use my neighbor as an example. They go to Waconia. And the reason for that is they both live in the Twin Cities or work in the Twin Cities, not live, work in the Twin Cities. And they just take their kids to school in the morning and pick them up in the evening, which is convenient for them. But why don't they just send them to Central because there's a bus going by? So those are some of the questions you as a board, and if I am allowed to join your board again, those are questions we need to address to see what is the reason for our students not staying in Central? And are we losing students not because of Waconia or other school districts, but because the students are not here? We have not built that many housing units in these last 5 years as we should have or could have. But now with Highway 212 opening up, we as a school board or school, and also as a community, Northern America, Hamburg, and Cologne, we need to also set, this is a good place to stop and raise your children, build your home here. So we have to kind of coordinate with the city and the school district in order to get people to stop, build a home here, and know this is a community we should live in, thrive in, and send your students to. So that is it's a multiple thing. One size doesn't fit all, and one things don't cure all the answers. But we as a board, or you as a board, need to look at those as potentials. What are we doing and how are we communicating with the city and the townships as far as that goes? And what's happening out there? I don't have the perfect answer, but I have a lot of suggestions and willing to work with all of you to get that done. I don't mean to ignore the two of you, but they're asking the questions at the moment. You got to tough questions, I assume. Okay, that's all I have with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Number 3, describe your experience with governance, including working with a board or leadership team setting.
Okay, if you look at my bio that I sent, I have been involved with many organizations. I'm going to point 3 of them out that I think cover pretty well my philosophy and how I shape what I've done. The first one is First Focus. It's a fellowship of continuing, understanding, and support. That was back in the 1980s, really, before some of these woke came out and all this other stuff came out. And understanding that we're all individuals. We have individual needs, individual wants, individual desires, and belong to the United Church of Christ. Not mentioning churches in here, but we were probably the forerunners in accepting more people and their beliefs and their different opportunities and different choices that are in the world nowadays, where you should never condemn a person because they don't follow your beliefs or your followings. And so often we do that because they don't believe where Sarah believes in. And so then we kind of shun them. And one of the students that came up to me was a student here that left our school because we're being bullied. I have met with that student, not with special meetings, but just ran into that student by accident. And the third time we ran into each other was down in Mankato, and the individual waited outside the schoolroom door that I was in, the student classroom I was in, just to say hi to me and talk to me. And I got opportunity to see how that student was doing. And that person is going to be graduating this year from another school, unfortunately. It was because of bullying during that particular period of time. The other thing influenced me quite a bit, and that did more with community relations and school board, of course, too, is the Glendon Foundation, which I became a member of, still a member of, but attended 1-week course on community development, understanding people and the relationships and what you can do for a community. So often we do not allow ourselves to open ourselves up and be part of the community. And that doesn't mean being in a paid position or working in the community, but also volunteering for things in the community. That is a big thing I believe very strongly in. You don't need to be paid for everything. You should always get out there to volunteer. And if you look at the organization I belong to, Plato Baseball, 20 years, Stiftons Fest since 1997, Senior Advisory Commission, getting out there and volunteers. They're not paid positions, but they're paid in just rewards of being out there and understanding what the community is talking about. And so often people have come up to me, and since I am a senior citizen, you may not ask that question, but I can volunteer it. I hear a lot of the community members coming up to me in the different things, and on Friday, I spent 5 hours on my feet, which on Saturday I regretted, volunteering for the Plato Fire Department. They needed volunteers, so I went there and volunteered. And that opportunity, I could listen to people that send their kids to Central, and also Northern American people went over to the fish fry. So you've got to get out in the community and not just thinking, hey, school board is my only job I'm going to have. And I didn't like what Mr. Schockemeyer said. We got a playoff game, so that means I've got to work until 8 o'clock because we got to watch the field house and do stuff like that. So it's an opportunity to volunteer, not to get paid, but just to help out in school. And then the third one that I think is so important, and that you have to be handpicked for again, was People of People. I don't know if most of you have ever heard of that organization. It was started by Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1957, and is a culture exchange, not only for students, but also professionals that are in a particular field. And I was in agricultural, so we went to visit China and the Soviet Union and learn different cultures, visit some of their schools, but also agriculture and desires. Am I supposed to be quiet for a second?
No.
You just thought I was gone.
Excuse me. But that made me aware of not just the United States, but also the world and the students in schools and what's happening there. So those are three things that you can see from all the other activities I've been involved in and the two awards I was awarded during my career so far, doing my volunteerism and so forth. And I will continue to do that because I think that is so very important, not only as a school board member, but also just as a good community member, get out and do all those things.
Thank you.
Mr. Kruger.
How do you believe the district can best prepare students for success in an evolving world? And what role should a board play in the process?
That is a very difficult question to kind of answer because that answer could be 6 different answers, or actually 8 different answers. You can have 2 people behind me. What you always hope as a board member to give them the best education possibly can, to nurture them, to talk with them, and be available to students. You can't advise them or counsel them. But one basketball game, I had a young student in 8th grade sit down next to me, and he was toying between becoming a wrestler or a basketball player. I got to be very careful with Troy. But we sat down and talked for quite a bit during the game, and he just sat down because he knew who I was. And I said, what would you like to do the best? I see you playing basketball a lot. And wrestling, you have not been in the program. So being a board member and having students willing to come up and talk to you is a great thing. And also that Central's teachers, consultants, coaches also help train students in selecting what they want to do after they graduate. And not only saying, well, you got to go on to college. No, sometimes maybe going on to work, going on to VOTEC school or technical school, or do whatever you choose to do so. But always remember that education does not stop when you get that first diploma. I have gone back to school for a lot of different classes, a lot of different times. And continuing education always has to be a part of it. And I have done 2 online classes just in this last year. So at my age, you think, well, online class, why are you doing that? In order to keep all the licenses that I do hold at the moment, I need to take online classes also. So education is not a process. I hope that Central prepares a student well in all these years, but what can we do for a student in school here, not only as teachers or as administrators, but as school board members, that you open your doors up and talk to other students as well and attend different school events so the kids know who you are versus, I think that person, I don't mean to partner you, Shelby, I'm sorry, but or just Mr. Stockmeyer, if you got better. That they know that you're open and talk to them and just kind of advise them on what's going on.
All right, last one. How would you approach decision making with different opinions on board members?
And I think that comes back to one of my other questions in the focus group, which is always fellowship and continuing understanding and support. People don't necessarily always have to agree with you. That is not a normal thing. People don't have to say, well, since Emily said that, I have to agree with that. You should always express your own opinion in a very polite, meaningful way, and then have open discussion. And maybe you don't get the way you felt or wanted them to answer the question or be on your side, but at least use that word. I always use a swear word, especially in politics nowadays. You compromise. You get the best deal you possibly can on the situation. Listening to every board member is very important. Knowing what they're saying and how they feel about a particular issue or concern and why they feel that way. That issue may not be agreeable to you, but when you leave a board meeting, you leave the board meeting as 7 united people. You express yourself in one voice. You don't go out and say, well, that Connor Smith and what he said, I use him because they're not on the board anymore. But you can't do that. You have to agree after you're done with the board and you vote on it. And the vote is 4-3, and you were in the minority, but you still have to support the idea in order to keep our school and our school district continuing on at all times. You can't go out and meanwhile the rest of the board members saying, I don't know what they're thinking. They just don't seem to understand that situation at all. That's not what you want to do as a board member or as a community member. You want to get out there and expect everybody's opinion, listen to their opinions, then form to an informed decision that hopes works out the best, and maybe in 2 months, you might come back to the decision and say, no, that really wasn't the best decision, was it? And maybe you gotta go back to the board and say, maybe we've got to tweak it a little bit, say maybe that was not the best way to go. And in all the communities I belong to, that is quite often sometimes happens. Sometimes the public opinion wasn't in your way, or you have to tell the public opinion why you voted the way you did with the information that you have, but be very cognizant of never use a board member's name despite it's being recorded at the moment. And mean mouth the board member or any person as far as that goes about what they said and why they said it and how totally wrong they were. We have to work together as a team, as a group, and respect everybody's decisions and opinions, no matter if you agree with them or not. That's part of life. I'm sorry if you don't agree with me on that one, but that's the way I definitely feel about that. So that's it for the questions.
Do we had talked about it as a group, offer Elodie a chance to ask us questions? Again, I think we had talked about that. Yep, so we're done with the questions. Do you have any questions for the board as a whole, or?
The two people behind me may have,
Yeah,
since I have served with 3 of you. No, I did not serve with you, Emily, did I? I think you came on up. So they served the 2 of them already. I wouldn't have requested for 2 of them because I know them very well. Troy, I know him. And Spencer, I know you. I don't have any questions. Others may, but since I know your philosophies and your feelings and everything, I really don't have anything, so.
okay, so I'm just gonna end with thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And just kind of talk about next steps.
Okay.
I'm gonna do this 3 times, so it is what it is. But once we're done with the interviews today, and you're welcome to just kind of retire and watch the rest of the interviews if you'd like. We're gonna discuss the positives of every candidate, and then in the operation part of the regular board meeting that starts here in 1 hour and 10 minutes, the board will make any further discussions, and then they'll nominate someone. If they get a second, they'll vote. And if that person receives 3 votes, then it's done. We don't necessarily take a vote on all 3 people. I just want everyone to understand that. It's whoever gets nominated, and there's a second, and then there's a vote. So thank you very much. And like
Thank you all.
Chair Aishan said, we want to thank you for putting your hat in the ring. We really do.
And I want to thank the 2 candidates behind me, on you. And I am not staying because I've got to go out and
Thank you all.
field my position.
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Yep.
Bye, Elodie. Thank you. All right.
All right, anybody want just a couple seconds to, anything else you want to jot down?
Okay.
All right.
All right. So easy shut the door. All right.
Next, we'll ask Barbara, is it Wadia? Did I say it right?
Waida.
Oh, it's really, I just,
If you think of the Y, it's Waida.
I'm so sorry.
That's quite all right.
Welcome.
It's always a challenge if someone actually gets it right.
All right. You got your timer there?
20 minutes?
There we go.
All right.
Right.
First mission, success.
All right.
Why do you want to serve on Central Public Schools Board of Education?
I have so much passion that I want to give. I have passion for the students. I have passion for the district. I have passion for education. We offer so many things at this school. It needs to be celebrated. I mean, the fact that you have 13 classes that seniors can take, you know, if they want a college education level classes. I mean, that's a great opportunity. The fact that you had 100% success rate in graduating in 2024, that's phenomenal. These are things to celebrate, and I want to build on those things and help propel us even higher, you know, help, you know, bring a new perspective and just like really share my passion for the children and for their success. We are helping them build their future. We're giving them confidence. We're giving them resources and support and the tools that they're going to need no matter what they do, whether they go to a technical college, whether they go to a 4-year, whether they take on the family business, or whether they enter the workforce. We're giving them confidence and strength and the support that they need to be well-rounded individuals. And I'm just really excited any opportunities I have. I've already taken advantage of a lot of them, my volunteer work, which you saw on my resume, but I want more opportunities to help, have District 108 be a success. And whatever I can do in whatever area, that excites me. I love that passion. Thank you.
Sorry.
No,
What are the biggest challenges facing Central Public Schools, and how would you work with the board and administration to address them?
Well, there's always challenges, right? Even the most well-working machine, there's still challenges. Doesn't mean that we're not doing some things that are great, but some of the challenges is increasing our test scores. And if we can increase our test scores, then we can publicize that, we can get that out. That's gonna help with recruitment, and that's gonna help with our funding and help being able to, have some of the programs we like or enhance some of our programs. So those test scores are really important. Our enrollment, we all probably know the charter schools we're getting hit on that, but let's really explore, okay, what do the charter schools offer that we're not? What are they doing that they can't? Central has some great things. My son has one friend that used to go to Waconia and now goes here because he feels that he was bullied at Waconia, and Central 108 is a safe place for him. And that's great. That's great to hear, so that's, some of those things like, what can we do? What type of promotion or connection can we have with the communities to draw the kids here? I think we have a lot of things that we offer. So how do we publicize those? And then looking at the budget, not necessarily that we're going to be able to get more money. And we certainly, we're already going pretty lean. It's going to be hard to do budget cuts. It's not what I'm talking about, but I'm saying, what can we do to enhance things that isn't going to cost us a lot? How can we maybe double up on some things? Like if we're offering a class that we think can contribute to kids in one way, how can we that same class be tweaked just a little bit to offer things for other students to make it more appealing for that? So it's not necessarily how do we get more funds, because, we may not, if we can increase enrollment, we would, but how can we best utilize the funds we have and be creative thinking in that brainstorming? No idea is stupid. That's what brainstorming is, so it's listening with open ears. It's, and sometimes you're going to come in, you're going to think you have a great idea, and someone else is going to right away say, oh, we tried that, didn't work. Or, but then say, okay, why didn't it work? Maybe it just wasn't executed right. Or maybe we can't do that because of this. Like, okay, well then let's pivot. What else can we think of? And not get so ingrained in just one idea that we can't explore other options.
Thank you.
Please describe your experience with governance, including working within a board or leadership team setting.
Okay, well, I've been in HR my whole career. So I've been the HR manager for decades. I've been the HR director. So obviously I was on the board of multiple different companies, working with that. You're looking at the budgets, you're looking at, how it's run, you're looking at the HR perspective and everything. I also worked on the Glencoe Area Chamber of Commerce. So I was on the board of the Chamber of Commerce in Glencoe. So I'm very familiar with that, where everybody has their own ideas, you're coming together, you're all working towards the same thing, but really deciding what ideas are the best and what ideas are we able to execute. One idea may be great, but we're not able to execute it for various reasons, whether it's budgeting, time, whatever. So I have a lot of experience with working with boards, and obviously with governance in HR, I've always had to keep up on the HR laws and be able to write policies that correspond with that protect the companies, that protect individuals, and really looking like, okay, if we're writing this policy, I know what I'm thinking, but someone that maybe isn't as educated in this, or someone that falls into a minority group, when they read this policy, what are they going to be thinking? How are they going to be interpreting it? And if that's with problem solving with anything, you're deciding, okay, this issue happened. Like, for example, we had one of our locations was in Canada. And I got a call on a Friday night, Friday at like probably 1 o'clock. And it was a holiday on Monday. And I got, where our paychecks, we didn't get paid. And they're like, we didn't get paid. And I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta go to my payroll gal and figure out why you weren't paid. And by the way, Barb, this isn't the first time I'm going into a Canadian holiday on Monday. What are we gonna do? Our people don't have money, our people are paycheck to paycheck. So first, I was like, okay, first, did they get paid? Oh, no, I processed, like, okay, we will address that, but now how do we get paid? So now I'm working with Canadian banks and I'm working with my finance department saying, how can we wire money to each and every individual's international bank account to get the funds into their account, and going to the president and saying, this is what happened, I'm gonna address why it happened and work on preventing it in the future, but right now, I need to get the money. Are we willing to pay if they have overdraft charges because they went away for the holiday? Are we willing to pay their overdraft charges? Because it's not their fault they're gonna get overdraft, it's ours, because we didn't pay them. So making sure we can do that, communicating with those people, being online with them, saying, this is what I'm doing. Everybody give your bank account number to the office secretary, she will get to me, making sure everybody got paid. Then it's like, okay, why did they not get paid? Well, I didn't have time to process. Okay, that's not acceptable. You don't have time to process, you tell them, now we have rules. 24 hours before processing, if you think you're not gonna get a process, you come to me, then I will either process, I will get someone else to help you process, or I'll take something else off your plate. Not processing is not acceptable. And then what are the consequences if it happens again? But, you know, it's looking at that, like solving the immediate hemorrhage, and then going out and finding what we can do better. And sometimes what's gonna happen, I assume here, we're gonna have crises that come up, where they're like, okay, we gotta stop whatever's happening, and then we gotta figure out why it happened and how we can prevent it from happening again. So I think I bring that perspective of being able to be that analytical thinker and looking at the whole problem, not just my window. Like, okay, we'll make sure to pay them next time.
Thank you.
How do you believe the district can best prepare students for success in an evolving world? And what role should the board play in that process?
I think the way we can best prepare them is to create well-rounded individuals, offering a whole different array of things. You know, somebody that is really into computers maybe thinks that, you know what, we need computers, we don't need art, we don't need music. But you know, some kids do need that, they want a career in that. And even if they don't need it, it creates a more well-rounded, maybe that's how they learn to relieve stress. Maybe that's something that they're gonna be able to do their whole life. So it's not just about the education, it's not just about the athletics, it's not just about music and art. It's how do we create well-rounded? How do we offer those things? How do we provide the resources for them to be where they can feel like they can come up and they can talk to you? You know, I mean, it's creating that rapport, not only with the students, but with the teachers and the principals and the community. Making yourself accessible, that open door is huge. Because, you know, you may think you know all the answers coming in, like I have all this experience, I know all the answers, but you know, the people that really know what the problems are the people that are living it, the people that are experiencing that. If you think you can run a committee or you can run a department and know how everything is without asking the people that are on the floor, what is your concern? You know, if we want to help the teachers, what are the teachers struggling with? What do they want? What do they need? And then can we get that for them? You know, being that resource for the children's intellectual as well as their mental and their, you know, that giving them options. I love it when I come to pick up my son and the kids that I've been coaching for 7 years in soccer give me a high five. Or even if some of them I only coached a couple years and they still come up and they want to give me a hug or something. You know, I love that I have that connection with them. And this is a side note, but 2 years ago, we had a birthday party, and one of the girls at the birthday party, she like pulled me over and confided in me that her parents were getting a divorce and this and that, and you know, she gave me some details, you know, and stuff, and just knowing that she trusted me enough to tell me those things, and that made me feel good. It made me feel like I was a resource for her. She isn't allowed to see her mom anymore, except for under very supervised visits, and she felt really sad about that. So the fact that she reached out to me as kind of a motherly figure there, it made me feel good that I could offer that to her. So sometimes we don't know what kids need. You know, she's a very happy girl, and you would never think that there's anything going on in her head that's troubling her. But sometimes we don't know, but if we have an open door, we can. And on the board, what is our responsibility is to provide those resources and to be governance too. We can't give everybody everything. But, you know, we need to be governance, we need to guide, we need to offer direction, and we need to offer policies and rules for people to follow that meets what is required by the government, that's required by our own rules and our own guidelines, so that it's easy for people to interpret. The worst thing is to be in a position or a role that you don't know what your next step was. You don't know how to respond and how to do your job properly because you don't have that guidance and you don't have something down in the policy or the procedures that you can refer to have.
Approach decision making with these differing.
I think that's probably every decision that's made, those are gonna be the factors in there. Because you're never gonna have a decision where everybody wants the same thing. You know, so it's really opening up your ears and your hearts, because we're all here to succeed. We all want the same thing. We want District 108 to succeed. We want our children to succeed. So really opening yourself up and listening to everybody's ideas, listening to everybody's thoughts on what we can do going forward. Have an open discussion so we can all work towards that same goal. So if you're, you know, there's several ways to solve a problem. And it might not, the way that we decide to solve or offer direction in it may not be what you want, it may not be your first choice, but you know, that you offer your experience, you offer your suggestions, your rationale, but inevitably, if everybody else or the majority of the other people think something else, then you shift gears, you pivot, and you support that. Because that's what being on a committee and a board is. It's we have those open discussions, you come to a decision, and then you all move forward in any capacity that you want. It might be something that you have a lot of experience in, and you're like, you know, this is the area that I want to help with. But you know, lots of other people have experience in that. Maybe it's going outside your comfort zone and saying, you know what, I don't really know how to do this, but I'm willing to try, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to, you know, go online, see what I can find out, and I'm willing to support it so we have success in the end. It doesn't matter whose idea it was, it doesn't matter who came up with the master strategy. What matters is that you're doing everything in your part to support the success in the end, because in the end, we all win if we work together. Together, we can do way more than any one person can do on it.
Thank you, Barb.
Thank you, Barb.
Okay, I wanted to make sure I say the same thing.
Yep.
So thank you for putting your hat in the ring for the Central School Board vacancy. At this time, do you have any questions of the board? We'd be happy to answer if you have any wonderings.
I don't have any specific questions. I'm sure that I will once,
Yep.
if I'm honored enough to be selected, I'm sure I will, and I'm sure you guys will provide whatever guidance I need to get me going. But I thank you for the opportunity that it was opened up to fill it, and that you're having like an open discussion and considering everybody. I think that's great. It's a great reflection on you as a group, that you're willing to look at all options and not just be like, oh, let's just really push for this candidate that I've been friends with for years or whatever. So I thank you for that opportunity, and for your openness to interview all the candidates.
Thank you.
So, hold on. I want to make sure I say this. So, we are going to go on to the last candidate, and you are welcome to stay. And so once we're done with the last candidate, we're probably going to spend some time discussing the strengths of each candidate. And then when we get to the operational part of the actual board meeting, that starts at 6 o'clock. It'll probably be 20 minutes or so into the board meeting. We'll revisit all the candidates. Somebody will have a discussion. Chair Ishins will make a call for somebody to make a motion. That is seconded. Then if somebody gets 3 votes, then we will move forward with that candidate. You're welcome to stay for the entire event. Okay, thank you very much. I'll be able to go back and look on the recording to see if I said it. How close it was there.
Nobody's gonna cut you
Yeah,
off. Let's
I
just
know.
go. We're not gonna say anything. Anthony Benz, please come forward. Tony,
Great.
Anthony? Okay, welcome.
Yep, so, Tony, if you could reset the timer there to 20 minutes. Right, ready to go?
Okay. Why do you want to serve on the Central Public Schools Board of Education?
Really the main reason I want to serve on the school board is I went to school here, I graduated in 1996. It was a great opportunity. It really prepared me for everything that I kind of encountered in my future. I went to college at UMD. Being from a small town, you think you're going to a bigger college and stuff like that. It's kind of intimidating, but really everything that I encountered at Central prepared me for going to and being successful in college, whether it be from sports perspective, from PSEO classes, everything. I just felt like there was no situation that was too big for me, whether it be in my job, my career, or in school. So as you get older and into your career, you realize that your successes are kind of based on other people helping you out and getting there in the way. I've had a lot of mentors throughout my career, and I just feel like the school board kind of falls into that kind of mentoring type of experience. And I want the kids to see that what you can be going to a school and what it has to offer, and how successful you can be, and move back to the community and get a job here and be successful. Have them see me as maybe a role model of success from the community.
Great.
Right. What are the biggest challenges facing Central Public Schools, and how would you work with the board and administration to address them?
I see a couple of different factors just from the outside looking in. I think the number one is trying to get students at a young age. So a couple of other candidates have brought up like Kelowna Academy and stuff like that. I work with a few people that are on the border of Sibley East, Glencoe. So they have options at different types of schools. So what does Central Public Schools have to offer that other schools don't? I have very young children, so I've got to kind of come up through like the Central elementary school system and see some of the things that they have to offer, whether it be after school care, the extra teaching, the tutoring. They do a really good job, the student teacher ratio of making sure that the students are in a smaller environment and they get the attention. I mean, I feel like at some of the other schools, the teacher wouldn't send you an email after school and say, hey, your student did a great job at X, or maybe your child is struggling in Y. What can we do to get them up to maybe the level of some of the other students? So getting the students early and getting them into the central school system so that they can see what everything is to offer and can kind of continue through that progression there. Also the housing in the community. So I'm on the chamber, and one of the things we talk about is as the community grows, where are people going to live? What do we want the community to be? Is it going to be a commuting community? Is it going to be kind of a one-size-fits-all community? So how do you work with that so that when they come to the community, they have affordable housing and a place to live and a place that they feel safe and successful in? Really the last thing too is, as you kind of look at some of the other things, you know, how does Central Schools rate compared to some of the other schools around the area? One of the things I remember from before I had children is, as we kind of went through some of the referendums and stuff like that, trying to get funding for the school, is one of the messages that really resonated with me was a successful school, what that can add to your property value. So even if you don't have kids, having successful schools and having successful students really can add to your property values. And once I kind of sat back and thought about that, even if you don't have kids, you have a vested interest in having a successful and thriving public school system.
Thank you.
Sorry. I should know it by now, but. Describe your experience with governance, including working within a board or leadership team setting.
Yeah, absolutely. So really a couple things that in my career, I've been a store manager at big box retail stores for about 20 years before I transitioned to the banking and the local community. So really the four things that I think of when I think about governance is number one is accountability. So throughout my career, the one thing is always just being accountable. So if you make a decision, stick with it and know the reasons why you made the decision. In the chamber, one of the big things is participation. So don't just be on the board, be an active member of the board. And if you have an opinion on something, give your opinion, but don't just stand on the sidelines and let everyone else make decisions. Be predictable. So if you traditionally have a feeling on something, don't wake up on Tuesday morning and all of a sudden you do a complete 360, at least explain to the other peers, like why all of a sudden you feel that way. And really the last thing is being transparent. So just if you have feelings and reasons for things, let people know why you want to do that. I think communication is always key in any situation. I've been a volunteer in the community for a long time, and including chamber, and just being out in the community. A lot of things, really as I've come back to the community, being in community banking has really helped me to really understand how important community is. People have choices, a lot of different choices nowadays. And maybe you're not as competitive on one thing, but if they can come in and talk to you and shake your hand and see you out and about, I think it makes a big difference in how they feel and the confidence they have in you.
Thank you very much.
How do you lead the district and best prepare students for success in an evolving world? And what goals should the board play in that process?
Yep, I think the board can be a partner with the school, so listen to what the school's needs are. So one of the things that always jumps out to me is always like the first thing is just technology. I mean, things are changing faster than anyone can keep up with. Everything from AI to electronics to everything. So making sure the students have the latest technology that they can have to prepare them for the real world. Post-secondary, when I was in school, I was just kind of starting out. But even just a little bit of exposure to some of those things makes a huge difference. I know in talking with Tim and some of the things, even some of the things we're doing now, like really exciting things with job sharing, with like some of the technical careers. I mean, if you can see something, a career before you even do it, your success rate is going to be exponential compared to the kids that maybe just go to school for something, have never done it, get into the career and realize that maybe it wasn't exactly what they thought it was going to be. So any type of life experience you can get is huge. Working with kids in communication, that's one of the things in any job you work in, you have to communicate with people, whether it be verbal, nonverbal, written, everything like that. So having those, I always think life skills, it's not something that you learn in a textbook, but that's one thing I learned a lot in Central was just life skills in general. Like, how do you balance a checkbook? How do you make dinner? How do you send an email? I mean, it's just things that people take for granted every day, but if you don't learn how to effectively do that and communicate, it makes a big difference in kind of how you progress, like in life. And then just overall, just, kind of some of the direction that the board will give. So I think about like direction, like in safety for children, that's a big concern out of schools. How we delegate the resources to be able to use them the most effectively. And I think just overall the general facility. So getting that Omni-Bill through to be able to improve the facilities here. I mean, it looks like a totally different school than when I went here. And that's a good thing. That really shows the progress that you guys have done here to really expand. So.
How would you approach decision making when faced with different opinions among board members, district leadership, and the community?
I think the biggest thing is starting out is just collaboration. So I think it's always important to collaborate with your peers and make sure you do a good job of listening. At a younger time in my career, I did a lot more talking than listening. Some people still think that's the case, but I do try to listen to everyone's opinion first before trying to formulate my own. As I've gotten older, also just never making a decision right away. taking some time to hear other people's opinions, kind of develop your thoughts, and then kind of decide. Always think too, like of the options that are given, what would be the best for the community? Because really at the end of the day, that's why we're here is for the students and for the community. Another thing that I've done throughout my career is always have some sort of mentor in certain situations, and just kind of reaching out as I pondered whether I was gonna get into this or not. One of my mentors is a gentleman that was on the school board in northern Minnesota for 20 years. So I called him and said, hey, what do you think? And just someone that's impartial that can give advice. And he just said, whatever you do, just make sure you're all in and go for it, and be the best representative of the community that you can be. And that kind of resonated with me, and really drove me to want to come out here and meet with you guys and interview and put my hand in the ring. So,
Thank you, Tony. First and foremost, I want to thank you for putting your hat in the ring to be considered for the school board. And at this time, if you have any questions of the board, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
yeah, I just have a couple. I know that it's a shorter term, 22 months on the this. What are some of the biggest challenges you see upcoming as you guys are kind of developing budgets and plans and everything? What are some of the things that you guys are maybe nervous about or proud of, or some of the challenges you guys see?
I'll start. I think personally, where my biggest concern is where the political climate is at our state legislative right now and the federal government, knowing that we have to have a budget on the table by the end of June. And I'm not really sure that the state legislature is gonna be able to put something together for us to do that, so that we will probably be looking at a very conservative budget at that time. So I think that is a very large piece we will have to tackle. We'll be budgeting within the next couple months will be a difficult piece for us.
That was exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah, kudos. I will add, I think there's some bills, and we're gonna talk about it here in 45 minutes, or at least I'm gonna show you some of them. There's some bills on the table that at the legislature right now, this is the main thing, that directly take money away from Central Public Schools. Because we are 89 school districts were winners with some of the rules, and 230 were not winners. And the 230 have some big schools in there, and they banded together, and they're getting leverage, and it doesn't feel really good to be one of the little guys. So I'm personally watching that, because again, like Chair Aisha said, on June 30th we have to have a budget ready no matter what, and that's just it's just difficult. So
Yeah, it's a little stressful.
stressful. Yep. So anyone else? Yeah.
Well said.
One last question.
Yes.
What skills would you guys say would be key in becoming a good board member?
I think that listening and knowing that you're here to represent all the students, not a particular group, not who, the athletes that your kids maybe were or anything like that. Like, you just have to look at that whole broad, like, what is best for every student. And that, like, as long as you kind of keep that as your focus, you can't make a wrong decision really, because you're doing what's best for everybody. And that's one of the things that I feel like we've really worked hard on to do.
And as a new board member that just was elected, listening, I mean, like you said, you go in public and you have 5 people ask you about your license. So listening, just staying neutral, just make sure you're a great listener.
Yeah, and then come talk to me in a year, because I don't know, it's new, right? But I'm trying to remind myself, I'm not here for me, I'm not here for my 2 kids, I'm here for the district, right? What's best for everybody's kids in the district as a whole. Right? So that's what I'm really trying to keep central for myself. See how easy that is, how successful a little bit here. Definitely.
Thank you very much.
So, I'm gonna go through, this is gonna end the interview, so right after this, we're gonna dialogue about all three candidates. You're welcome to stay, it's a public meeting. At about 5:50, between 5:50 and 5:55 here, Chair Ishins will kind of watch the clock on that. And then later on, about 20 minutes into the board meeting, we will, it's in the operational item, so at that time, Chair Ishins will call for a nomination. Somebody will get nominated. If there's a second, then there will be a vote. If there's not a second, then somebody else will have to get nominated. But that will happen about 1 hour from right now. So you're welcome to stay. And then that's, I think that's all. All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay,
Can we take just a couple minutes to
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
look through it and jot down? Kind of want to look at the rating scales and kind of
Yep.
put
Do you
notes
want
on here.
Do you want to,
Can we just,
can you,
like, does the board member just want to just take a little time and
just
jot
a-
down some
Yeah.
notes and then
do you want to set,
flip your
do you
stuff
want to set
over
up?
when you're done?
Yeah, do you want to say we're going to take
We'll take
7 minutes, 10
7
minutes?
minutes.
Okay,
How's that sound?
all right, sounds
So
good.
we'll get some, wait,
Yeah, it's about,
yeah,
I'm just gonna pause. I'm gonna,
5:30, how's that?
yep, I'm
Somebody
gonna,
has to get up to the bathroom.
I can't turn off the camera, so just, there's gonna be some dead
So
area.
no-
It is what it is.
It's like getting in the car to go for a ride.
We're not stopping. That's what I hear, like.
We stop every 10 minutes. I'm sure she'll stay throughout the whole meeting. They've tried pretty much. Anyway. People want characters. Sheds.
Oh, timer's done. You can be done now, Tony.
Red's done.
That's great. Is that shared document that you have in our board meeting?
No, I did not put that. I would attach it. This one, I was,
That we were doing our strengths and weaknesses.
do you want me, I can share it with the board members.
Like, oh, yours is important.
I was just gonna put it behind us, but I can share it with the board members if you want me to. I was just gonna attach it to the meeting after the fact.
Just share it with us so we can not crank our necks unless we want to. I feel really close to it though.
No. And Mr. Larson's eventually.
It's like really close.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing else.
Here we go. So,
That'd be easier for you guys to see it if it's in front of you, right?
No, I would always rather. look
So
at
I'm
mine.
sharing this to your school email address.
So when did Kara?
Okay, so if you go into your school email, you'll be able
She's kind
to
of been
log
battling
into this
She's
and
been
look at it.
battling it since they're out of our in Miami.
Here's the,
And then finally they wanted physical therapy for a different issue. And that was better. And then the PT called me last Thursday. I don't like how this feels. I think you need to take her in for an X-ray and an MRI. And so she sent us right over to Scott. Yeah. He got us in right away and then we were off to MRI and.
And so are they telling her to rest it?
Yeah, of course they are.
Yeah. But she's like,
So it's like.
no, I don't have to.
They said
Ain't got
it's
time to
either
bleed.
the start of a stress fracture, or she had it and her body's just trying so hard to heal, but she keeps pounding on it because it's competition season. So,
Got it. Sorry.
Well, he paused it.
talk about it when we get home.
Oh,
I can.
great.
Oops.
Oh, really?
Nobody's.
I'll see if I can cut it.
I was like, oh, that was really funny.
Yeah, so if you, if you go, you're, there. I just sent you an email. I shared this document if you want to.
Oh, I'm not typing in there.
Yeah, no, I gave you, edit access.
Yeah, sorry. That's great. It's so bad.
Well, when you're trying to like write to like keep up with somebody.
What is a serial killer write like?
Nobody can read it, and that's great.
A little worried.
Except for myself.
Watch out for that word.
I really like those backpacks. I think that I should like qualify for one of those with as many surgeries as we've had.
Yeah, like, we should
Sure.
get bag we
really
get
like
after
Yeah.
X amount is met.
We used to get t-shirt. You gotta go through the
You got a
Excel
t-shirt?
program. Then you get swag bag and swag bag.
Right.
It's funny, patients like, stop wearing all their carbs. And it's like, okay. They feel very proud.
They're proud.
Very proud. They are nice though. They hold a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was like, that is a serious stuff.
Here it goes. Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't know what's gonna happen out there. I have a feeling it's gonna get busy for
Get some energy out there.
Who do they play tonight?
Let's go to Valley.
And-
Yeah,
MDL?
Minnesota Maryland Lutheran. Okay, I neglected to say this at the beginning, so, for those of people watching at home, we did initially have 4 candidates. But we had a candidate drop out at this afternoon, and so I'm just gonna read a quick statement from Jason Reed, who dropped out of consideration for the school board candidates or for the school board vacancy. I've been thinking through over the last week and with the community involvement at the local level in Cologne that he's committed to, or that I've committed to. I don't know if I'll be able to give it as much attention as the school and other board members would deserve from me. Plus, I'm still running after 3 kids I still have in school with a smiley face. It is not an easy decision to take lightly, and it has consumed me over this past weekend when I came to the final decision earlier today. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me about the vacancy and the process, and I want to thank the board members for their consideration. I hope this doesn't throw a wrinkle into any process, but I can imagine with me being the last interview, it might provide more time to talk with the other candidates. Thank you very much, Jason Reed. And so Jason is not going to be considered, but now we do have 3 board members or 3 candidates that we need to consider. And so just taking you through the process, we're going to talk about strengths. This is a public meeting, so we need to talk about the things brought forward in the interview today, what you have written down in your notes in front of you, not about experience that you've had with another person before. What was the interview like today? And so Mr. Larson is going to be typing for us, so we're going to start with 1 candidate at a time. Just know that when we get to the operational item in the actual board meeting, there is discussion during that time too that Chair Ashens will do. So if we run out of time now and you feel like you have to say some of the things about a candidate, there will be one more opportunity. Fair enough? Okay, so Rich, are you ready to type?
I'm ready.
All right, so
I
we're
want to say
yeah,
one
go
thing.
ahead.
This will not be an easy decision.
No.
I am very impressed with the qualifications and the answers that everybody gave, so kudos to all of you, because did a very wonderful job, so thank you. So I just want to say that before we jump in.
Thank you. So we're going to start, and if you can pull out your things for Elroy. So we're going to start talking about Elroy. So give Rich time to catch up. He's a pretty fast typer, but just make sure that he's typing. So as you're talking, please speak loudly so that way Rich can hear and he can get the gist of what you're saying in the document. So
And Spencer and Troy, you guys maybe stepped out while Tim
yeah.
did email it to you also in case you want to look at it in front of you.
yeah, it's in
Instead of
the pads on your
breaking your neck.
Otherwise, you can look right behind you. All right. Anyone can start.
I'll start since I'm on the front end. I'll start and just say that I really appreciated one of the things that he said about hitting the ground running. I think that is a strength of his at this point, just because he does have that background knowledge of what it's like to serve on this board in particular.
Yeah, his experience on the school board is a large strength.
You know, no question, my question is kind of.
I think it can be a
Whatever. you're good.
stream of
One issue,
consciousness.
Yes.
Because, well, and the reason I'm saying that is because somebody may, like, not every question may have been a strength, so we're just talking about strengths. Yeah.
I think from challenges facing the district, right, Jim? Next challenge, generating hours and potential budget issues, right, on top of those. That was sort of challenges.
I might say this about a lot of applicants, but I think it's relevant here also, is just his community involvement.
There were a couple of times in Elroy lived with acceptance and thinking about students, right? He had a very student-centric perspective. So I think it's great.
He talked a lot about listening to everyone. Again, I might have a lot of the same strengths on. But
Could be challenges.
They brought up working with the city. Or with the school, cities as one.
as the community is growing like that, yeah.
Troy, I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? You brought up the idea of what?
He brought up working, the district working with the cities around as we grow.
Thank you.
And he does bring a different perspective to the board as far as representing the community, not a parent at this time.
Mhm.
So we're gonna sit in silence for a little bit, and that's okay. I'm just trying to let this percolate, you know what I mean? I don't.
And we can go back. if
And we
think
can
of
go back,
something else,
yeah, but
right?
I would like to, I would very much like to, like, let's talk about all three.
Yeah.
And then we can go back and add, does anyone have anything else that they want to add to the list? I don't want to go through the training.
And yeah, one more on that last one, I mean, around the decision-making side of things, so we have a 7 unit people. So even if you don't agree with the decision the board makes, presenting a method from. So that was the start.
There anything else anyone wants to add? Or should we move on to Barbara? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so we're gonna close talking about strengths on Elroy, so if you could shift over to the Barbara documents, anyone can start and talk about strengths that Barbara had in her meeting.
I think that one thing right off the get-go for her, was her passion and your energy, excitement to be a part of the board.
Yeah, I had positivity written down.
Mhm.
Yep.
Positivity Shelby had.
The HR background, the policy writing.
Mhm.
That's great.
Appreciated the perspective of, she took a different approach to, she mentioned bringing, more students in, but then she also looked at, okay, how do we work with what we do have? And I really appreciated that too, because I think that's one thing that our board, and especially since Tim's been here, is really looking at non-traditional ways to save money. I appreciated that. I think that's a really good perspective.
I also really appreciated her response around preparing students into well-rounded individuals, the whole child. I loved her response there.
Making Central a safe place for students.
I'll echo the passion, right, around the students' district, education in general. Some, like that, for the responsible first question, some research there too, so that stood out, like, took the time to, look into some of the numbers, I think that's a strength. Around, biggest challenges, increasing test scores as a way to bolster recruiting in the moment. That's strong.
Also, problem solving seemed to be pretty big, and not just like solve the problem for right now, but how do we prevent this from happening again, more big picture
Systemic
look. Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
Rich, can you do me a favor? Can you scroll up just so behind it's up? There you go. Thank you. Yep.
Similar to, the I know I said I was gonna say this for a couple, for a lot of applicants, but just that listening to all, willingness to have an open discussion, open ears and hearts I wrote down.
Open doors.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated the statement, we all win if we work together, because I feel like especially when it comes to negotiations, that's a really important perspective to have as a board member. That nobody's trying to work anyone over, we're just trying to work together for what's the best for everybody.
Yeah, I thought nobody had whose idea is or whose grants are in she, but like this the right path, is the right path, no matter what it is. Strong, words that every decision the board makes will probably have some dissension between either somebody on the board or someone in the community or with the district leadership, so just thanks for that.
Right, other strengths for Barb that anyone would like to voice? Barb? Okay, I think we're gonna move on to talk about Tony. Do you feel like there is enough time to talk about Tony right now?
I think so, so we
Yeah.
can cut, if we have to cut it at 5
Five
minutes, we'll
minutes.
be okay, yeah.
Sounds good.
Or we can just talk more about them when we open it up
Yeah,
later.
sounds good. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about strengths from Tony.
I like how you brought up school to be a mentor.
I like that, he's a grad from Central, kind of replacing what Connor was also, like kind of similar, brings a similar perspective, I guess, to the board.
I really appreciated his comments around successful students, schools, and how that impacts the community at large. Really like that comment.
Yeah, I had that written down too.
Yeah, I have the kids consent at young age.
Yeah.
Sooner we can convince folks that we should be here at Central is the right place. We are going to have to try and do it. 7th grade through 9th grade, 10th grade, but that's not tools. That's good.
I really appreciate how you share life experience.
I liked how you brought in, the preparing students for success, not just what we offer them in the school, but how we keep them safe, the maintaining facilities, like all of that is part of, like, very well-rounded as far as like the vision of how to make this a successful school for our kids.
I think my favorite answer that he had was to number 3, talking about the governance and working with board leadership.
4 things. I wrote
Yeah,
that down, too.
I was like frantically writing like, ooh, this is these
I
are
missed
good
the
little
point.
nuggets
I'm like, I missed one.
for my life. So I thought those were all really good tenets to
Yeah,
carry out.
accountability, predictable, transparent, and I missed one, Tony.
Participation.
Participation.
I got it.
I couldn't get it fast enough.
The board is a partner with the school. Question forward, and the ways that the board can help kids, technology, disability controls, communication, life skills, safety, how we delegate our resources down, and people like to follow that. And then thinking about, what would be best for the community, because the board is considering questions and this.
Can you say that last one more time, please?
What would be best for the community, right, as a lens for the board to use in decision.
Thank you.
I think again, like everybody said, kind of like that listening, you know, as far as decision making, but kind of took it a step further and wrote down, don't jump to decision making. So not only listening, but just remaining open while we listen.
I wrote reflection on
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
I think that's
I had that, I was just looking it up. I also appreciated in that, in question 5, when you talked about collaboration.
Any other strengths for Tony that any board members want to voice?
I think I wanted to add to both Tony and Barb, I think I had it in otherwise also, but their experience with volunteering in the community and just being a part of the community, both of them was amazing.
Can-
All
Rich-
3 were amazing there.
Rich, can you add that to Barb's too? Thank you.
I also, like, sorry, I'm finding little things here and there, but I also liked how you talked about keeping a mentor and always staying fresh. And getting different perspectives from a mentor, I like that.
I like the perspective of having young kids. I think that's a really important, we've talked about that with Spencer too, is that, I think that's an important perspective. We're aging out over here.
Are there other strengths? Tony, like to voice?
Just engagement with the chamber, and I think as we look at, improving enrollment and how the community should have additional connection to strength.
Anything else?
Yeah, I guess how we brought up job sharing programs.
Oh,
Anything else that anyone would like to add?
Well,
I
we
think it's
can-
awkward.
This is such a, they were all so amazing, it's
Yeah.
just hard to, I'm sure
Yeah.
this put some on some people, but what we'll do is we do have time in the board meeting to open this up again and just reconsider it. We'll probably process it for a little bit and then we'll open it up for a nomination.
Yep.
But we can add to it at that time too.
That sounds good.
But we can adjourn this and then,
You probably need to have a motion in
Motion
this
to
section.
adjourn.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
adjourn the.
unless there's anything else.
Mhm.
move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Erickson, second by Robots to adjourn the interviews for open seat. Any comments? All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna,
we'll reconvene at 6.
at 6, yep, so I'm gonna end this part and then it'll be another recording for the